Hey guys, Ashley French here, and in this video, I'm going to teach you how to do your very own Sharpie chevron wall. This is one of my all-time favorite accent walls because there are no power tools involved, and I think it's very easy and beginner friendly. So let me show you what we're going to use.
The supplies I will be using for this accent wall are acrylic paint markers, a measuring tape, a 12-inch ruler, a pencil, level, and a scrap piece of cardboard. I want to point out that I am using acrylic paint markers and not permanent markers. These paint markers work better, can be covered up with paint in the future, and can be purchased on Amazon or at any craft store. I would also recommend using a 36 to 48 inch level. If you only have a 24 inch, that is fine, but the longer ones make this project a bit easier. Here is the blank wall that I will be using for this tutorial. I do want to show you a close-up of the texture on this wall because I always get asked about this. This wall has an orange peel texture, which is perfectly fine and it will not stop me from doing this accent wall. Anything heavier than an orange peel texture though may be tough to draw on with markers. The very first step is to measure the length of your wall so you can determine where the center of the wall is. My wall is 91.5 inches long, which means the center of my wall is at 45.75 inch. Next, I'm going to measure out and mark in pencil where the center of my wall is. From here, I use my level to draw my first vertical line straight down the center of the wall. I am lining my level up on the pencil mark I made for the center and looking at the bubble in the level to make sure it is level. I then use my pencil to draw my line. I move my level down and complete the line. Working off of the center line, I'm using my ruler and making a pencil mark every 7 inches. Every 7 inches is the measurement you will use as well, regardless of the size of your wall. Something I did to make this easier is I marked my ruler at 7 inches using the marker, and this is where I would make my pencil mark as I moved my ruler along the wall. Then I finished my pencil marks on either side of my center line. I went ahead and moved halfway down the wall and made the same 7-inch pencil marks as well, just to give my level something to line up with and ensure the vertical lines do stay 7 inches apart all the way down the wall. Next, I use my level and I line it up with the pencil marks at the top and at the center of the wall, and I use my pencil to draw the vertical lines all the way down the wall. I am looking at the bubble level on the level stick as I go to ensure the vertical lines are straight. Here is a closer look at all of my vertical pencil lines once they were complete. Now it is time to go over the pencil lines with our acrylic paint markers. I lined my level up with the pencil lines, making sure the level was sitting perfectly on the pencil line, and then I ran my marker over the pencil line. I moved my level down and finished the line all the way down the wall. I continued to do this all the way across the wall to complete all the vertical lines. I'd like to add here that it may be tempting to skip the vertical lines in pencil and go right to the paint markers, but I highly recommend doing the vertical lines in pencil first so that you can ensure straight, even lines all the way across before using the paint markers. The next step is to now add a mark on your ruler at 3.5 inches, leaving the 7-inch mark there as well since we will be using both markings. Now starting from the top of each vertical line, you want to make a dot down the line every 3.5 inches. I line my ruler up, make a dot next to the 3.5 inch and the 7 inch, and then I move my ruler down, lining the edge of the ruler up with the last dot on the wall, and again marking at 3.5 inches and 7 inches. You can use any method you want for this part, but it is important that your dots are exactly 3.5 inches apart all the way down every single vertical line. This part is a little time consuming, but it is important because these dots are what will guide us when we start to add the diagonal lines. Do not make the dots too big, make them just big enough that you can see them. Here is what mine looked like once I was done. Now starting at the center of my wall, I lined my ruler up from the very top of my line diagonally across to the second dot on the next vertical line. Watch how I am doing it here. I work my way all the way down this first column. I do wipe my ruler off about halfway down as it starts to get some paint marker buildup on the edges, which can smudge off onto your wall. For the column directly next to this first one, I am using my ruler in the opposite direction as you can see me doing here. Now your paint markers will start to dry out about every full column, so I just go and switch out to a new marker when it's needed. As I move on to the third column, I again switch the direction of my ruler back to the way I had it on the first column and continue to draw my diagonal lines. The pattern should essentially start looking like arrows pointing up and down. I want to say here that if you make a mistake, I will show you how to fix it later in this video. Also, every now and then I would notice some marker on my hands, and I would stop and go wash my hands to prevent any of the paint on my hands from smudging onto the wall. I continued to add the diagonal lines all the way across the wall until all the columns were complete. Now all that is left is the furthest left side, right side, and the very bottom that need to be completed. Since we cannot fit a ruler in these areas, we are going to create a template to trace that is the same shape as our pattern. I first drew out the vertical lines 7 inches apart on the cardboard, and then I drew dots on the vertical lines every 3.5 inches, and then I added the diagonal lines just like we did on the wall. I used a pair of scissors to cut out this parallelogram shape. You will use this template to work around any odd areas that your ruler will not fit, like around outlets at the bottom of the wall or against the corner of adjoining walls. I line the cardboard up at the bottom of the wall to match the pattern, and then I drew my final lines against the bottom of the cardboard. Then I folded the cardboard in half and I pushed it in place on the right side to match the pattern, and then I traced along the cardboard again. I did the same thing all the way down the wall and then moved on to the left side of the wall until my entire pattern was complete. The reason cardboard works so well for this is because it can be bent and manipulated to fit into odd-shaped areas. Now, if you have any places where you messed up, just use a small paintbrush and apply your wall paint carefully to fix the mistakes. I put it on thick to cover up the marker. And here is a look at the completed wall.
All right, and there you have it. Thank you so much for watching this video tutorial. I hope it was helpful, and I hope that you guys will check out my other video tutorials.